Part 50. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 491. But after hearing the story Li Yuan told, she understood why Li Yuan did what he did. In high school, an ordinary boy who was not only a bit handsome but also a bit silly, would suddenly burst into such a dazzling light. Being able to attract other girls besides myself, such as the campus beauty from Jida, as well as my cold goddess roommate. But she couldn't talk to her parents about this. This matter is a secret belonging to Li Yuan and the four girls. Bai Wuxi stopped sobbing, and her eyes red from crying gradually became firm. Things are not what you think. You can't blame him entirely. There is also my reason for this. Bai Tiankai frowned. What's the reason? You can tell me. When Yang Jinyu heard this, his heart suddenly thumped, and he had a bad premonition. Could it be that his precious daughter, when she was having trouble with Li Yuan, did something that was sorry for Li Yuan? Is that why Li Yuan came back with revenge? She had gone to college and naturally knew that some girls would do stupid things that they would regret for the rest of their lives when they were not in love. If it was really his daughter who had wronged Li Yuan first, then it would be natural for Li Yuan to flirt with women. But, is this really the reason? Yang Jinyu didn't believe it. Bai Wuxi shook his head. Mom, Dad, don't press me. I am very happy with Li Yuan now. Do you have to break up to make you happy? Bai Tiankai heard Bai Wuxi's words and laughed angrily. Happy? You share a man with another woman and you say you are happy. Can you please give me a little face? Yang Jinyu frowned upon hearing this and retorted, Tiankai, if you don't know how to speak, just shut up. It's so unpleasant to talk to your daughter. Who are you talking about? Xiao Bai, don't pay attention to your dad. He has this kind of temperament. He talks openly and has no emotional intelligence at all. Tiankai wanted to say something else, but Yang Jinyu glared hard at him and immediately swallowed his words. He dared to be fierce to Bai Wuxi now, but he didn't dare to wink at Yang Jinyu. Yang Jinyu stood up, came to Bai Wuxi, touched her head, and said softly, Xiaobai, your dad and I are not against you and Li Yuan being together. It's just that he is so carefree and has several girlfriends at the same time. We are afraid that you will get hurt in the future. Bai Wuxi's body was still trembling slightly and he didn't answer. Yang Jinyu continued to persuade, listen to your parents' advice. If you feel wronged, break up. Your dad and I will stand behind you and support you. Although our family is not rich, we can support you for the rest of your life. Hearing the word break up, Bai Wuxi's body seemed to have a stress reaction, and he answered decisively. I won't break up with him. Bai Tiankai snorted coldly, this kind of carefree man is unreliable. I don't know how many women will appear next to him in the future. When he gets tired of it, he will kick you away and you will still be the one crying. Bai Wuxi didn't believe that Li Yuan would abandon her. I had treated him like that in my last life, so wouldn't I accept myself in this life? With Li Yuan's current attractiveness, as long as he waves, many beautiful girls will take the initiative to stick to him every day. She had already given everything to him. If Li Yuan didn't love her, why would he give himself shares in the Cheyenne USA Milk Tea Company and buy himself a big house worth tens of millions? With this kind of money, which one of those award-winning milk tea girls can't be caught? Thinking of the mansion worth tens of millions that Li Yuan bought for herself and the words he said, which gave them the confidence to face their parents' censure, Bai Wuxi knew what to do. Bai Wuxi looked at his parents firmly and said word by word, I believe that Li Yuan loves me and will always love me. Let me show you something. With that said, without waiting for Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu's reactions, they went back to the bedroom, opened the suitcase, and took out a red notebook. This is the real estate certificate for a luxury home located in Tianyuupan, the top high-end residential area in Shanghai. Bai Wuxi took the real estate certificate, came to the living room, and handed the red book directly to Yang Jinyu. "This is a house that Li Yuan bought for me in full, worth more than 10 million. When Yang Jinyu heard that Li Yuan bought a house for her daughter in full, her expression was stunned for a moment, and she numbly accepted the real estate certificate handed over by Bai Wuxi. He opened the real estate certificate with a shocked expression and looked at the information on the real estate certificate. Property owner, Bai Wuxi, individually owned, house area 388 square meters, specific location, 12th floor, building 6, Tianyu Yupan. A 388 square meter mansion in Shanghai. Yang Jinyu looked at the message, her hands trembled, and she was completely shocked. She knew that Li Yuan was very rich and generous. She had previously bought Bai Wuxi a BMW Z4 sports car worth hundreds of thousands, and also bought a Mercedes-Benz E worth 50 or 60 for the couple in Bai Wuxi's name. It's a sedan. In the Jade Mansion community in Shanghai, Li Yuan also has a large house with 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms and 2 bathrooms. As a city dweller around the Magic City, and having brothers living in the Magic City, she knew the housing prices in the Magic City, and even checked them out after returning from the Magic City last time. The price of a nearly 400 square meter mansion like this is much more expensive than an ordinary house, at least 30,000 to 40,000 yuan per square meter. A house of 388 square meters may be worth tens of millions. In addition to 2 cars, there are also various expensive gifts such as bags and Rolex watches that Li Yuan bought before. In less than half a year, Li Yuan has spent more than 10 million on his precious daughter. Yang Jinyu still didn't believe it and confirmed again, "Is this really what Li Yuan bought for you?" Bai Wuxi said yeah proudly. This. Yang Jinyu didn't know what to say. Bai Tiankai was still saying just now that when Li Yuan got tired of playing, he would kick his daughter away. In the blink of an eye, his daughter slapped him in the face with a mansion worth tens of millions given by Li Yuan. When Bai Tiankai heard this, his heart skipped a beat, and he stretched out his hand to take the red notebook from Yang Jinyu's hand. Looking at the property rights information above, Bai Tiankai was stunned for a moment and felt a little depressed. I was stunned for a moment, not knowing how to speak. As a scholarly family, Bai Tiankai's family has been engaged in the education industry since before the founding of the People's Republic of China. Except for some accidents during special periods, the 3 generations of grandparents have always been engaged in the education industry. They are all very bookish. In addition, they are tall and handsome, so they can catch up with the big ones. Yang Jinyu, who was born in the city. No matter how proud he was in his heart, he was still a little confused under the absolute overwhelming force. He held the red notebook in his hand blankly, without any of the fierce and furious expression he had before. When Bai Wuxi saw her parents' shocked expressions, she suddenly felt very happy and was about to speak. Suddenly, the cell phone rang. "For the rest of your life, you will be ordinary." She quickly took out her cell phone, looked at the caller, her brows suddenly filled with joy, wiped her tears, and pressed the connect button. "Husband, are you back?" Chapter 281. Returning home in fine clothes, with a bustling crowd. "Well, we're almost at our county seat." On the other end of the phone, after Li Yuan got off the plane, he spent 1,000 yuan to charter a car and returned directly to his hometown county. When he heard that Li Yuan was coming home, Bai Wuxi was overjoyed. The tears on his face had disappeared and he quickly asked, "Husband, where do you get off the bus? I'll pick you up now." Li Yuan thought for a while and said directly, "I'll go to the number 4 middle school carousel near your home. You can wait for me there." Bai Wuxi nodded quickly, "Yeah, I'll go down right away, see you there or not." Li Yuan smiled and said, "Bye." After Bai Wuxi hung up the phone, he found that his parents were looking at him with complicated expressions. Bai Wuxi bit her lip, looked at her parents firmly, and opened her teeth slightly. I want to go out. Just as Baiwixi was about to leave, a voice came to his ears. Xiaobai, wait. Baiwixi turned around and said one word at a time, Mom, don't you want me to see him? Yang Jinyu looked at her precious daughter and her body trembled suddenly. This look in her eyes left her without any doubt as to what this silly girl would do if she stopped Baiwixi at this moment. Yang Jinyu took a deep breath and tried to speak in a calm tone. Mom doesn't want to stop you, but I want to ask you, is Li Yuan back? If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 492. Baiwixi glanced at Bai Tiankai, who was in a daze, and nodded when she saw that he had no reaction. Well, he'll be here in a minute. I'm going to pick him up. When Yang Jinyu heard that Li Yuan was coming back, she didn't know what she thought of. He opened his mouth and was about to say invite the other party to come and sit at home. He glanced at Bai Tianqi beside him and swallowed the words back. Then go ahead and be safe. Baiwixi looked a little confused about her parents' current attitude, but the surprise of meeting Li Yuan had already occupied her whole heart. He quickly returned to the bedroom and simply freshened up. His naturally beautiful face, with the most youthful air at his age, was still incredibly beautiful even without any makeup. Compared with when I was in high school, because of the nourishment of love and the frequent use of various expensive skincare products, I have become even more beautiful. Baiwixi took the Hermes bag and the Mercedes-Benz car keys and hurried out. Seeing my daughter leaving in a hurry to meet that bastard. Yang Jinyu glanced at Bai Tiankai, whose expression was constantly changing, sighed, and spoke slowly. Old Bai, I think we shouldn't interfere too much with Xiaobai now. This is fine now. As long as Xiaobai is happy and lives a happy life, we as parents don't have to worry about it. Bai Tiankai carefully placed the property certificate in his hand on the table. This real estate certificate is my daughter's property, and it is too important. Tiankai frowned and said, Jinyu, what do you think we should do? Just let that bastard step on a few boats. Yang Jinyu glanced at her husband. As a woman from a big city, she knew much more than Bai Tiankai, and she was far less bookish than Bai Tiankai. In big cities, this situation is not uncommon. Those who are truly rich often have red flags at home and colorful flags fluttering outside. However, many people cannot accept this situation. Especially if the only daughter whom he regards as his treasure also meets such a person. Lao Bai, Xiao Bai, and Li Yuan are just in love now. Who can say what will happen in the future? According to my understanding, Li Yuan and Xiao Bai should have a deep relationship, and they are high school classmates. The reason why this happened is that there may be a misunderstanding. We just need to watch quietly. Now go and fight Yuan Yang will only hurt our relationship with our daughter. When the misunderstanding between Xiaobai and Li Yuan is resolved, I believe that they will eventually get together. Bai Tiankai thought of some rumors coming from his ears, frowned and said. What will the neighbors, relatives, and colleagues around me think? These days, there are rumors everywhere, and it's not like you don't know how unpleasant the words they say are. Yang Jinyu chuckled, rolled her eyes at Bai Tiankai, who had always wanted to save face and be a slave to her daughter, and said with a smile. Humph, never mind them, they can't eat the grapes and say they are sour. You drive a Mercedes, carry a Rolex, and drink Mao Tai every day. They envy you no more than anyone else. As for those long-tongued women, if they want to gossip, just let them do it. Anyway, they won't hang a hair. It really doesn't work, hee, show them this. Yang Jinyu picked up the real estate certificate and raised it in his hand. A house worth tens of millions is enough to break all rumors. It will only make them envious for not giving birth to such a lucky daughter. What kind of support, what kind of mistress, are not as shocking as a mansion worth tens of millions. Yang Jinyu was born in a big city and has worked in the education industry for decades. he understands the so-called human nature very well. While despising the poor and loving the rich, there is another word that is very appropriate. I'm not only afraid of my brother's hardship, but also afraid of my brother driving a Land Rover. Tianqi frowned and said nothing. What Yang Jinyu said was true. Ever since he drove his Mercedes back during the National Day, he felt a little elated and there were compliments everywhere. I envy him for finding a good son-in-law. Now calm down and think carefully about why there are so many rumors. It is really the same as Yang Jinyu's envy, jealousy, and hatred of sour grapes if you can't eat them. Bai Tiankai thought of another thing and asked. Now that Li Yuan is back, during the Chinese New Year, should our two families meet as planned before? The meeting between the two parents was something that the couple had discussed before. Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi have both met their parents, and they are very satisfied and understand each other very well. At this time, it is reasonable for both parents to meet. Yang Jinyu nodded, well, it is necessary. When Xiaobai comes back, I will ask Xiaobai's opinion privately. Yang Jinyu suddenly thought of the fights between wealthy families that he had only heard about before, and reminded. Lao Bai, no matter what, my daughter seems to be following Li Yuan wholeheartedly. You also know Xiao Bai's character. She is soft on the outside but strong on the inside. She has her own opinions. If we forcibly stop her and Li Yuan, I don't know what kind of stupid things she will do. We are just such a precious daughter, and I don't want to cause trouble in the future. When the two families meet, calm down your bad temper and don't say any unpleasant things. As parents, even if we can't help our daughters, we can't cause trouble to our daughters. Li Yuan is now a big star and has many careers. I found out from the internet that the game called King of Glory developed by his company has only been online for 4 or 5 days, and the daily sales have exceeded 100 million. We should now find a way to get along well with our two families. It would be best to arrange the marriage between Li Yuan and Xiao Bai in advance. Our two families are so close, Xiao Bai and Li Yuan are high school classmates, and the two have a deep emotional foundation, which is a great innate advantage. As long as the marriage is arranged, when Xiao Bai and Li Yuan graduate from college, let them get married immediately and have a child, and their status will be stable. Even if Li Yuan has other women outside, it will not affect the status of his daughter. Bai Tiankai frowned and listened to Yang Jinyu's chattering, feeling speechless. Jinyu, why are you saying this now? Do you really agree with Li Yuan having 3 wives and 4 concubines? Yang Jinyu sighed helplessly, Lao Bai, there are many such cases, especially in those powerful families, it is too common. With Li Yuan's current worth, this situation will definitely happen in the future. Don't forget that he is only 19 years old and has already achieved this level. It is impossible to imagine what will happen in the future. For a man like this, do you still expect that he will only have Xiaobai as his woman for the rest of his life? Bai Tiankai was silent again. Not to mention Li Yuan, even he himself, after driving a Mercedes-Benz and carrying a Rolex, some female teachers have approached him intentionally or unintentionally, flirting with him. It can be imagined how tempting Li Yuan would be. Bai Tiankai sighed, well, let's take it one step at a time. On the other side. After Li Yuan got off the car at the roundabout of number 4 middle school, he saw a tall girl wearing a white down jacket and a pink scarf rubbing her hands in the cold wind, looking around for her figure. Li Yuan smiled slightly and shouted to that figure. Xiao Bai, I'm here. Following Li Yuan's voice, Bai Wuxi saw the figure she had been thinking about day and night, and immediately ran over like a young swallow returning to the nest. She jumped directly onto Li Yuan and hugged Li Yuan's neck. Hubby, you're finally here. I missed you so much. As Bai Wuxi was talking, she hugged Li Yuan and stood on tiptoe. She put her lips, which had turned white from waiting in the cold wind for too long, in front of Li Yuan's lips and took the initiative to kiss him. After kissing for a while, Li Yuan felt that Bai Wuxi's cheeks were a little bitter and salty. This was the taste of tears. Li Yuan thought that Bai Wuxi hadn't seen him for a few days and was crying because she missed him. Li Yuan grabbed Bai Wuxi's cold little hand and put it in his palm, feeling the cold wind outside, and said with emotion, "It's still cold in my hometown. It should be -7 or 8 degrees now. Xiaobai, your hands are almost frozen. Why don't you wear gloves?" Bai Wuxi felt sweet in her heart when Li Yuan held her little hand. She blinked her beautiful eyes at Li Yuan and smiled sweetly. "I miss you so much. I left in a hurry and forgot to bring gloves." Li Yuan smiled slightly and rubbed Bai Wuxi's head. Her long black hair was also a little cold. Her ears were also red from the cold current. "Silly girl, it's too cold outside. Let's go to the supermarket first. I'll call my dad and ask him to pick me up." He came back by chartering a car. In order to see Bai Wuxi, he didn't take a direct ride to the town below his hometown. It is now January 24, 2009 in the Gregorian calendar, and the 29th day of the 12th lunar month. There are very few cars on the road. Hearing Li Yuan's words, Bai Wuxi took out the Mercedes-Benz car key from his bag and handed it to Li Yuan. "Brother, drive this car back. It's just sitting there doing nothing. No need for uncle to come pick it up." Li Yuan looked at the Mercedes-Benz car key and remembered that Bai Wuxi had left a car in his hometown. However, this car was said to be given to Bai Wuxi, but in fact, it was given to his father-in-law Bai Tiankai. Li Yuan shook his head and said, "No, I can take a taxi back later. It's the new year, let Uncle Bai drive the car, it will be more convenient to visit relatives during the new year." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 493. Bai Wuxi was extremely moved when she heard that Li Yuan was still making thoughtful plans for his parents. Thinking again of the unpleasant words my parents had just said at home, I felt even more sorry for Li Yuan. "Humph, I won't open it for them. Brother, I will go back with you." Li Yuan looked a little surprised. "It's already the 29th of the 12th lunar month. Are you going back with me?" Only then did he realize that Bai Wuxi seemed to have cried just now. Could it be that Bai Wuxi was at odds with her parents? Or is it that the advantageous father-in-law and mother-in-law already know the fact that he has a lot of influence? Li Yuan directly expressed his doubts. "Xiaobai, uncle and aunt, do you already know? Are you quarreling with them?" Bai Wuxi panicked and burst into tears when she met Li Yuan's gaze. Thinking of the unpleasant words my parents said, I felt very aggrieved and disappointed. Li Yuan understood instantly and had long expected that such a scene would occur. Bai Wuxi's family is completely different from Zhong Tingyu and Xia's Haijin. Xia's Haijin's parents died early. Although her grandmother and several uncles were considered relatives, they were not her biological parents after all, so they didn't care too much. After Xia's Haijin expressed her attitude and insisted on not giving up, her grandmother, uncles and aunts would not interfere. After Li Yuan showed his strength and cleared the way with money, they had no objections as they were short-handed. Zhong Tingyu's family is even more special. Her mother is not the first wife, so she doesn't particularly value this and is used to it. As for Zhong Tingyu's father, Li Yuan has not met him yet, but based on his understanding, he can solve it. Only Bai Wuxi knows best. Bai Wuxi's family is a typical scholarly family, and it is somewhat influential in the education field in his hometown. Bai Wuxi's grandparents are also teachers. Her grandfather, I heard, was the principal of a certain school and worked in the county education bureau for many years. In addition, Bai Wuxi is an only daughter, the apple of the family's eye, and can be said to be the favorite of countless people. When he was in high school, he often saw Baiwaxi's parents coming to pick her up and drop her off in person every day. With this kind of family atmosphere and this kind of family background, it would be strange if one could easily agree. Li Yuan reached out and covered Baiwaxi's frozen ears. The weather in the north was indeed very bad. Not surprisingly, it will snow heavily in these 2 days. Xiao Bai, it's normal for uncles and aunts to have emotions. If they say really unpleasant things, don't take it to heart. Parents are like this. They definitely don't want their precious daughter to suffer the slightest injustice. Li Yuan spoke slowly to comfort Baiwaxi. Give them a process of acceptance. Time will be a witness and a way to test my love for you. I believe that with the joint efforts of both of us, they will let go of their hearts sooner or later. Listening to Li Yuan's comfort, Baiwaxi hugged Li Yuan tightly, feeling Li Yuan's strong heartbeat, and the tears in the corners of his eyes gradually stopped. Husband, thank you. Don't worry, I have already told them that in this life, I will never marry unless you. Humph, if they don't agree, I will just run away from home like my mother. Li Yuan smiled, silly girl, what nonsense are you talking about? Just leave this matter to me and I will solve it. Yeah, brother. Baiwaxi replied sweetly, she believed 100% in Li Yuan's ability. Li Yuan checked the time. The flight departed from Shancheng Jiangbei Airport at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Xiao Bai, are you going back to my house with me now, or are you staying in the city? It's not appropriate to go to Baiwaxi's house now. All the things I bought are at my hometown. Originally, my father-in-law and his family were in a bad mood, and going empty-handed would only add fuel to the fire. Baiwaxi didn't hesitate at all, nodded quickly and said coquettishly. Brother, let me go to your house first. I want to stay with you. Anyway, she had already met Li Yuan's parents. They had already gone there a few days ago when they came back together. If I go now, it will be fair and above board. Listening to Baiwaxi's coquettish tone, Li Yuan smiled, touched her head and nodded. Okay, go to my house first and prepare some gifts, and then I'll take you back and meet your uncle and aunt by the way. Baiwaxi took out the car key and said with a smile, drive this car back. Li Yuan shook his head. It would be troublesome to drive this Mercedes-Benz and have to send it back again. If my father-in-law misunderstands again, wouldn't it be a matter of seconds? Take a taxi. Well, I will listen to you. Although it was already the 29th of the 12th lunar month, taxis were still available. Li Yuan spent 60 yuan to hail a taxi, and the two of them headed back to his hometown together. Next to S305 Provincial Road, there is a luxurious villa covering an area of 500 to 600 square meters. It stands in the cold wind and is particularly eye-catching. In the living room of the villa, a large group of young and old men from the same village were eating fruits, cracking melon seeds, bragging and chatting together. Ever since Li Heng and Xiaqin returned, various relatives came to visit every day. It clearly reflects what it means to be poor in the busy city and no one cares about you, but rich in the mountains with distant relatives. Third uncle, it's already the 29th of the 12th lunar month, hasn't Xiao Yuan come back yet? The speaker was Li Yuan's cousin Li Zikao, the eldest son of his uncle's family. Li Heng said with a smile, he just got off the plane at 12 noon, and he should be in the county seat by now. However, I don't know if he will come back today. He may have gone to his girlfriend's house. Another middle-aged man who looked about 45% similar to Li Heng said. Third brother, why don't you call and ask Xiao Yuan? Secretary Wang and Mayor He have been waiting here for a long time. Li Heng looked at the village branch secretary who was cracking melon seeds next to him and the deputy mayor in charge of attracting investment, feeling a little helpless. In the few days after he came back, Secretary Wang and Mayor He came to chat almost every day, and at the same time they were inquiring about Li Yuan. Li Hong naturally knew what their purpose was. In the past 2 years, the economy has been in recession, and superiors have focused on economic development in the so-called economy is king. Whoever can do a good job in attracting investment can be regarded as having political achievements. After the news of Li Yuan's prosperity spread, his home was regarded as a key target for investment. As a simple farmer, Li Hong was still very concerned when facing the village secretary and deputy mayor. Mayor He, Secretary Wang, let me call Li Yuan first and ask him. Mr. Li, don't worry, it's the end of the new year, and there is nothing particularly important in our town or village. He Ji and Wang Yang were also very curious about the legendary figure Li Yuan. According to the information they found and learned in the past few days, Li Yuan's current net worth is extremely exaggerated, at least several hundred million. Even in the entire Baiming County, he is close to the richest man. Based on cash flow and future potential, there may not be many people richer than Li Yuan. In the past few days, the game Honor of Kings has continued to explode, with daily sales exceeding 100 million. And as more and more people start to play this game, word of mouth continues to ferment. Xiaohua's product must be a top quality product. This slogan has become a common slogan among ever-bright netizens and fans. Novels, music, websites, milk tea, and games are all outstanding among their kind. In particular, Honor of Kings, which can be said to be an epoch-making competitive game, has received high praise after its launch. After Li Hong made the call, he smiled at Wang Yang and He Ji and said, Mayor He, Secretary Wang, and Li Yuan have arrived at the county seat and are heading home. They should arrive in a while. When the two heard this, they smiled and nodded. Thinking that they would meet the legendary star soon, they suddenly became nervous. While many people are waiting in the living room. After a while, a taxi stopped. Li Yuan looked at the luxurious villa in front of him and was very satisfied. This villa had cost more than 1 million yuan to build and decorate. In this era, it was already considered very good. Before my hometown, the area built was about 200 square meters, and a 3-bedroom, 2-story house cost just over 100,000 yuan. In addition to occupying my own homestead, this luxurious villa also bought 2 pieces of land from my cousin and the second uncle's house. The building covers an area of 600 square meters and has 3 floors. Li Yuan glanced at the house and then noticed that there were many people in front of the villa. Hey, why are there so many people in front of the door? If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 494. Baiwixi was a little nervous when she saw so many people. Li Yuan held Baiwixi's hand, carried the suitcase, and walked towards the villa. From a distance, the crowd quickly surrounded him and greeted him with a smile. Xiao Yuan, you're back. Brother Yuan, you're so handsome, is this your girlfriend? Haha, I can't recognize you, you've changed so much. Uncle, brother Chao, second uncle. Li Yuan also smiled and greeted them one by one. The people in front of him were basically all from the Li family, a few cousins, and relatives within the 5th degree of mourning. Chapter 282 Boss Meeting Invitation Letter, Visiting the Mother-in-Law. Next. There were all kinds of praise music, and the relatives praised him over and over again. At the same time, they were still asking what business Li Yuan was doing, how much profit he made, and so on. Xiao Yuan is really awesome now. The ancestral grave of our Li family is really smoking. Uncle San and Aunt San can enjoy a happy life for the rest of their lives. He, Brother Yuan is a big star now. There are several girls in our class who are all fans of Brother Yuan. Brother Yuan, when you are free, please sign an autograph for me. I will show off in class. I heard from the third brother that Xiao Yuan is doing a big business now. He has bought several big houses in Shanghai. His assets may have exceeded 100 million. Tisk tisk, the richest man in our Bangsu town is just like that. When Xiao Yuan was young, I knew that he would be very successful when he grew up. The third brother and his wife have been working outside and hardly asked about his studies, but this child is ambitious and was admitted to the #1 middle school in the county. In front of the villa, a large group of people were talking about various things about Li Yuan. It was also the first time that He met Li Yuan. As a member of the system, his emotional intelligence was naturally very high. When he saw Bai Wuxi next to Li Yuan, he immediately thought of a way and started to get close to him. You are the child of the old Bai family. Your name is Bai Wuxi, right? Bai Wuxi was slightly startled. She looked at He and felt that he looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. Your father and I are old classmates. I wonder if your father has mentioned me to you. By the way, my last name is He, and I work in the Bangsu town government. Bai Wuxi listened to He's introduction and nodded with a polite smile. Uncle He, hello. He looked at Li Yuan again and praised, Mr. Li, you are so handsome at such a young age. You and Wuxi are a perfect match made in heaven. Among our old classmates, your uncle Bai often talks about his precious daughter and is proud of her. When Li Yuan heard He's introduction, he had some impression of him. He was also in the system in his previous life and had met this person several times. At that time, the other party was already the deputy director of the organization department of the county party committee. At this time, it should be the deputy mayor or the mayor, he couldn't remember clearly. Li Yuan said modestly, Uncle He, thank you for the compliment, I am just a small-time player. Wang Yang on the side joked, Mr. Li, a big boss like you with a net worth of billions can't be considered a small-time player. You can be said to be the richest man in our Bangsu town. Li Yuan had just heard his father introduce that this was the village secretary of Dali village. Secretary Wang, don't flatter me, I still have a long way to go, and my career has just started. Li Yuan was not really modest, what he said was also true. Whether it was Zhi.com, Chayan USE milk tea shop, or the newly launched King of Glory, they were just starting out and had great development prospects in the future. In addition to these treasure pots used to quickly obtain a large amount of cash flow, he naturally prepared some other development industries, such as Meituan Takeaway, Douyin, Alipay, smartphones, new energy vehicles, etc. It's not to say that he will definitely do these industries himself, but he will definitely invest to seize market share. Many things are like money thrown on the ground for you to pick up. Can you not pick it up? After chatting for a while, Li Yuan knew the answer in his heart and pretended not to understand. By the way, Uncle He, Secretary Wang, why are you here today? He smiled and said, as a local government, we have such a great talent in our hometown, so we naturally have to come and see it. By the way, I'm here to give you an invitation. I want to invite you to attend the annual hometown reunion meeting held in our Bangsu town. As he said this, he took out an invitation from his bag and handed it to Li Yuan. When Li Yuan heard hometown reunion meeting, he immediately understood what was going on. In his previous life, he worked in the township for many years. Every year during the new year, the three-level town governments of the city, county, and township would hold hometown reunion meetings, also known as boss meetings. Because those who can be invited to participate are all big bosses in a township or a county. Li Yuan never thought that he had just made a name for himself and was already remembered by the local government. Li Yuan took the invitation, opened it, and took a look. The invitation read, Bangsu Fellows, please come home hometown reunion meeting. The time is January 26th, the afternoon of the first day of the new year, and the location is the Cultural Auditorium of Bangsu Community in Bangsu Town. Li Yuan felt a little strange and felt very special. In his previous life, when he first started working within the system, he wrote the host words and speech scripts for this kind of fellow symposium for the town leaders, served tea and water, and provided good service. Unexpectedly, During the first spring festival after rebirth, this role would be changed, and the identity and status would be completely different. All I can say is that fate has its way with people. Perhaps this is a manifestation of money ability. Li Yuan was thinking a lot and said with a smile. Uncle He, Secretary Wang, if there is nothing particularly urgent, I will definitely attend on time. He Ji felt relieved when he saw that Li Yuan agreed to participate. After Li Yuan's reputation spread across the country, his superiors also put a heavy burden on him. He must make good friends with Li Yuan, try to win him over, and return to his hometown to invest and start a business. Mr. Li, let's add your contact information first and contact us when you have time. Wang Yang and He Ji took the initiative to leave after meeting Li Yuan, chatting for a while, and deepening their relationship. Li Yuan had just returned home, and they were too embarrassed to disturb him too much. Their main purpose was to come and meet a familiar face. After chatting with relatives for a while, Li Yuan took Bai Wuxi with him to visit the new villa. This was designed, constructed, and decorated by Li Yuan himself. It is naturally different from ordinary rural houses and more like a Western-style villa. Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi, whose face was red from the cold, rubbed her face and said with a smile. The environment in my hometown is indeed a bit poor, and it doesn't support people very well. But Xiaobai, your skin is really good. You have lived here for so many years and your skin has not been affected. Bai Wuxi's pretty face was flushed, and she was enjoying Li Yuan's facial massage sweetly, feeling happy in her heart. No way, I just covered it up more tightly. I used to wear very thick clothes. I put on a hat, earmuffs, gloves, and a scarf. Of course I won't get cold. As Bai Wuxi spoke, he looked around Li Yuan's bedroom. Suddenly, he blinked and joked. Brother, you have moved to a new house. Have you lost the little gift I gave you before? Li Yuan looked stunned. He really didn't know whether the things he had saved before were thrown away by his father. As a deskmate and good friend, Bai Wuxi also gave himself several small gifts when he was in high school. Although they were not very valuable, they were all meaningful. Even after many years in his previous life, he was not willing to throw away these gifts before he was reborn, and kept them forever. Seeing Li Yuan's nervous expression, Bai Wuxi smoothed his long black hair and hummed. Brother Stinky, you won't really throw away all the gifts I gave you, will you? Humph, I have carefully collected all the gifts you gave me and all the love letters you wrote. Li Yuan smiled coquettishly, how is that possible? I remember that I asked my dad to put it away for me. Wait, let me come find you. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he quickly opened the wardrobe, desk, etc., and searched carefully. Seeing how seriously Li Yuan looked, Bai Wuxi smiled and also helped to search. Because it's a new home. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 495. There weren't many things in Li Yuan's room, so it didn't take him long to find them. All the previously treasured things were placed in a cabinet specially used for collection by his father Li Heng. Hey, found it? Li Yuan looked at the familiar box, and a big stone suddenly fell to the ground in his heart. Anyway, no matter what happened, this box contains the best memory of his life. Even if, in the future, this memory has become fragmented. Li Yuan took out a photo album from the box. The cover of this photo album is a photo of Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi in high school. It was also a birthday gift that Bai Wuxi gave him on his birthday in his senior year of high school. In the photo album, most of them are various photos of Bai Wuxi, some artistic photos, and life photos, including several photos with Li Yuan. Bai Wuxi carefully took the album from Li Yuan, opened it gently, turned to the first page, looked at the intact folder. Her expression suddenly froze, and she stared straight into Li Yuan's eyes, making Li Yuan feel a little embarrassed. What's wrong, Xiaobai? Why are you looking at me like this? Seeing that Li Yuan really didn't seem to have discovered the secret in the album, Bai Wuxi snorted, glared at Li Yuan fiercely, waved her pink fist, and threatened. Smelly brother, you idiot, if you dare to lose this photo album I gave you, hum. 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 Hearing Bai Wuxi's threat, Li Yuan laughed and swore an answer quickly. Don't worry, Xiaobai, I will treasure everything you gave me. Look, in addition to the photo album, there are also these, they are all here. Li Yuan pointed to the items in the box. In addition to the photo album, there was also a palm-sized sailboat and a crystal ball. Bai Wuxi looked at several other gifts one by one, and looked at Li Yuan, even more speechless. When she was giving gifts, she made some little surprises that even Li Yuan, a philandering carrot, didn't even notice. Humph, stinky brother, you must keep all the gifts I give you. Li Yuan did not notice anything strange about Bai Wuxi and nodded quickly. Don't worry, for sure. By the way, Xiaobai, are you here tonight, or should I take you back? Bai Wuxi stared at Li Yuan, her heart pounding, and she hummed. Smelly brother, what do you want to do? Li Yuan nodded and replied seriously, I think. Only then did Bai Wuxi realize that he had said the wrong thing. She glared at Li Yuan fiercely, turned her head, and raised her head proudly, like a proud white swan. Today is the 29th of the 12th lunar month, and tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Of course I have to go home. If I don't go home, my parents will be mad at me. Goose goose, no, it seems that I'm almost mad to death. Li Yuan smiled and had no intention of leaving Bai Wuxi to spend the night here. The time was not suitable. He is not yet sure about the attitudes of his father-in-law and mother-in-law. Before, during the National Day, Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu's attitudes were so good, but that doesn't mean their current attitudes will be that good. Now, there are completely two situations, two different things. Although he said verbally to reassure Bai Wuxi, he would deal with the father-in-law and mother-in-law. But inside, I really have no bottom. Not all parents will bow down to money. I want my daughter to share the same man with other women. Especially when his daughter is still very good. With Bai Wuxi's appearance, figure, and education, he can live a good life even if he leaves Li Yuan. In any era, as long as you have high enough looks, you cannot live a bad life. Top beauties are scarce resources, and beauties with excellent moral character and academic skills are treasures among scarce resources. Li Yuan smiled and said, wait a minute, I will take you home and visit your uncle and aunt by the way. Bai Wuxi was very moved when she saw that Li Yuan was about to go to his own home as soon as he came home. However, when I think of my parents being angry at home, I feel a little worried, afraid that they will say something unpleasant. She didn't want Li Yuan to suffer any injustice. Li Yuan saw the hesitation on Bai Wuxi's face and asked curiously. Why, uncle and aunt, don't you want me to go to your house? No, no, it's just. Bai Wuxi quickly shook his head, hugged Li Yuan's arm, and expressed his worries. My parents are not very happy when they know the true situation. I'm afraid they will say something unpleasant. Li Yuan understood in his heart, pinched Bai Wuxi's little face, and said with a smile. It's okay, I told you, leave it to me. By the way, where are the things I asked you to bring home? Bai Wuxi pointed to the living room and said softly, they are all in the storage room next to the living room. Li Yuan took Bai Wuxi to the storage room, mainly some mutai liquor, and some other expensive gifts, such as cosmetics, gold jewelry, etc. At this time, if you want to deal with Bai Wuxi's parents, you can only use your money power. Li Yuan carried a box of Maotai, 2 pairs of Zonghua and Tianxia, as well as a Chanel cosmetics set bought for Bai Wuxi's mother, as well as some gold jewelry, jade pendants, etc. The total value of these gifts is approximately 400,000. After Li Yuan packed up the gifts he had prepared in advance, he suddenly remembered something and asked. By the way, Xiaobai, have you shown your parents the real estate certificate I gave you? Bai Wuxi nodded, yes, I have shown it to them. Li Yuan asked again, what was their reaction? Did they say anything? Bai Wuxi recalled in her mind the reaction of her parents when they saw the real estate certificate, and chuckled. They were both shocked. They were still scolding me fiercely. I showed them the real estate certificate, and they stopped talking. I don't know their reaction later. I got your call and hurried downstairs to pick you up. Listening to Bai Wuxi's introduction, Li Yuan felt relieved. This is the power of the real estate certificate. In China, it is often said that those who have permanent property have permanent heart. The house is really too lethal to the generation of parents. In other words, at any time, in any country, and in any nation, the house has a great lethality. The house worth tens of millions of yuan was given as a gift, but it was written in Bai Wuxi's name, and it belongs to her personal property. It's a bargain for my father-in-law and mother-in-law. They shouldn't come with a knife to chop me, right? Li Yuan muttered in his heart. Xiaobai, pack up, we'll go to your house now. Downstairs of the villa, Li Heng, Xiaqin, and others saw Li Yuan holding a large box of Maotai and various gifts, and asked in surprise. Xiao Yuan, are you going now? Li Yuan smiled and said, Dad, Mom, I'm going to Xiaobai's house before the new year. You don't have to wait for me to eat tonight. Hearing Li Yuan's answer, Li Heng and Xiaqin looked at each other, smiled, and did not stop him. Okay, when we get there, you should be able to talk a little bit, and don't drink so much at night. Xiaobai, keep an eye on Li Yuan. If he drinks, let him stay at your house overnight and come back tomorrow. Don't drive after drinking. When Bai Wuxi heard that Li Yuan was allowed to stay at her house overnight, her pretty face turned red, and she replied shyly. Okay, got it, uncle, aunt. In the staff quarters of number 4 middle school, Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu were a little worried when they saw that their baby daughter had not returned after several hours. Old Bai, it's all your fault for speaking so harshly. If Xiaobai runs away from home and doesn't come back, I'll see you crying alone. Bai Tiankai frowned, but didn't refute, and he also felt a little regretful in his heart. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 496. What I said was indeed a bit unpleasant, and I didn't consider my daughter's mood and attitude at all. Jinyu, how about you call Xiaobai and ask her what she is doing now? It's almost 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's almost dark. Yang Jinyu glanced at Bai Tiankai and snorted softly. She knew that her husband would definitely regret it after saying those ugly words. She knows this daughter slave very well. Okay, let me call and ask. Yang Jinyu picked up the phone and dialed Bai Wuxi's number. The phone rang for dozens of seconds before it was connected, but there was no sound on the other end of the phone. Yang Jinyu took a deep breath and spoke proactively, Xiaobai, where are you now? Bai Wuxi's attitude was a little stiff, what are you doing? Yang Jinyu calmed down and spoke in a gentle tone. It's already late, why aren't you back yet? Are you with Li Yuan? Suddenly, a loud male voice came from the other end of the phone. Aunt Yang, Xiaobai and I are together. We will be home soon. When Yang Jinyu heard Li Yuan's answer, he looked stunned and felt a little surprised. Li Yuan, you are right, right. Aunt Yang, Xiaobai and I will be at your house soon. We will go see Aunt Yang and Uncle Bai while we have time the year before last. Hearing that Li Yuan was coming, Yang Jinyu suddenly looked a little panicked, and quickly replied, yes, okay, and then hung up the phone in confusion. After a while, he came back to his senses and quickly urged Bai Tianqi. "Old Bai, clean up quickly, Li Yuan will be here soon." Bai Tianqi's voice was slightly sharp, with a bit of surprise. "Li Yuan is coming." Yang Jinyu nodded. "Well, it should be here soon. Let's clean up quickly." "Excuse me for cleaning and mopping the floor. By the way, when Li Yuan comes, you must not show your face to him. If you have anything to say it properly." Yang Jinyu thought of Bai Tianqi's stubborn temper and quickly reminded him. Tianqi hummed, then got up and went to get the mop, ready to mop the floor. Downstairs of the family courtyard of number 4 middle school, Li Yuan looked at the family building in front of him and felt suddenly nervous. In 2 lifetimes combined, this was the first time he came to Bai Wuxi's home. In the previous life, it was because if the relationship didn't reach that level, it wouldn't be considered a real love relationship, let alone being taken home by Bai Wuxi to meet his parents. In this life, I still met Bai Wuxi's parents in the Magic City. Not only Li Yuan was nervous, but Bai Wuxi himself was also a little nervous. She was worried about her parents' attitude towards Li Yuan. If she said something unpleasant and made Li Yuan angry, would he hate her or even give up on her? I already felt sorry for him in my previous life. He couldn't let him be wronged because of himself again in this life. Bai Wuxi was in a state of confusion, nervously carrying large and small gift boxes and taking Li Yuan up the stairs. Because it is a family home, the houses are all built by the school. They are all 6-story small buildings without elevators. Bai Wuxi's family lives in the east door on the 4th floor. The two came to the door. Looking at the strange iron door, Li Yuan reached out and knocked. After a while, the door was opened, and Yang Jinyu appeared in front of the door. Li Yuan took the initiative to say hello with a smile. "Aunt Yang." There was no cold reception as expected. On the contrary, Yang Jinyu seemed very enthusiastic. "Li Yuan, are you here? Why are you still carrying things? Come in quickly. The Chinese New Year is coming soon, I'm coming to see my uncle and aunt." Li Yuan replied with a smile. Carrying the gift, for the first time in my life, I stepped into Bai Wuxi's home. Chapter 283 The Uncle Who Comes to Visit for the First Time, the Father-in-Law's Hongmen Banquet. Mother-in-law Yang Jinyu's attitude was very good, but Li Yuan was more worried about Bai Tianqi's attitude. He knew that Bai Tianqi was a complete daughter slave. Can such an old father really accept this reality? Li Yuan was very worried. After entering the house, Li Yuan looked at the house. The standard 3-bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen 1 bathroom building is transparent from north to south. On the background wall of the living room, there is a calligraphy and painting with the 4 words "God rewards those who work hard" written on it. It looks like running script, with an incomprehensible seal stamped on it. Li Yuan was not surprised by this. In China, many people, especially those within the system or businessmen, like to post some calligraphy and paintings to show their cultural atmosphere. Not to mention a scholarly family like Bai Tianqi. The tall Tianqi was sitting on the sofa. When Li Yuan came in, his face remained sullen, without the familiarity before. His face had the feeling of being away from strangers, and he didn't look very happy. At this time, Yang Jinyu snorted coldly and reminded. "Old Bai, Li Yuan is here." Li Yuan clearly felt that Bai Tianqi seemed to have some opinions about him. Fortunately, through Bai Wuxi's explanation, he was already prepared. "Uncle Bai, the Chinese New Year is coming soon. I have brought you a few bottles of wine. Come early to wish your uncle and aunt a happy New Year." Bai Tianqi looked at the box of 6 bottles of mutai held by Li Yuan, struggled to squeeze out a smile, and nodded at Li Yuan. "Well, sit down." Seeing that her father's attitude was a bit cold, Bai Wuxi couldn't help but snorted, hugged Li Yuan's arm, and reminded him dissatisfiedly. Dad, these things are all bought by Li Yuan from the Magic City according to your and my mother's preferences. Li Yuan spent a long time picking them out for you and my mother. Bai Wuxi didn't tell lies. In order to have a good year, Li Yuan really put in a lot of effort. While accompanying Bai Wuxi, Xia's Haijin, and Zhong Tingyu respectively, they all bought a lot of gifts based on their family members' preferences. For example, for Xia's Haijin's family, because the distance is relatively long, and because they are uncles, aunts, cousins, etc., they bought some small electronic products, most of which were gold jewelry. In China, gold is hard currency and has high value. After giving it away, even if the other party does not use it, it can be sold for money. If you save it, there is still a lot of room for appreciation. The price of gold on the market now is less than 100 yuan per gram. Before his rebirth, it had already risen to 400 to 500 yuan. It even rose faster than housing prices. It was a very cost-effective investment. For example, the Spring Festival gifts Li Yuan prepared for his parents were a set of golden souvenirs of the 12 zodiac signs, each set worth more than 200,000 yuan, and they also liked it very much. If you really want to give away all kinds of luxury bags, clothes, diamonds, etc., it would be better to give away gold. Of course, for girls like Zhong Tingyu, Bai Wuxi, and Xia's Haijin, it would be a bit uncouth to give gold. Young and beautiful girls prefer beautiful things with more artistic characteristics, such as diamonds, bags, etc. Bai Tiankai looked at his precious daughter holding Li Yuan's arm, feeling as if the cabbage he had worked hard to raise for many years was being eaten by a pig. It's okay to be humped by a pig. The key point is that this pig is not willing to accept his own Chinese cabbage, but he also eats several other Chinese cabbages at the same time. He is not single-minded at all. He is a pure playboy scumbag. This is also the most fundamental reason why he is very angry. There shouldn't be many men in this world who would be willing to share the same man with their only daughter, their beloved child, who he raised alone, with other women, right? But after looking at the various gifts Li Yuan carried, don't hit the smiling person with your hand. Tian Tiankai remembered Yang Jinyu's instructions just now and took the initiative to chat with Li Yuan. Come here as you come. Don't be so wasteful next time and bring more things. Li Yuan smiled and said, Uncle Bai, this is a little bit of my heart, and it's not worth a lot of money. With that said, Li Yuan winked at Bai Wuxi and asked her to cover up. He and Bai Wuxi selected these things together. Bai Wuxi knew their value better than him. Bai Wuxi understood instantly and quickly took out various gifts from the bag. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 497. Mom, look, this is the Chanel cosmetics set that was just launched this year. Li Yuan waited in line for a long time to buy it. It is only available in the Magic City in the country. This is an jade bracelet, it belongs to Chow Tai Fook. Haven't you always wanted an jade bracelet? Li Yuan and I picked this for you. You can see if it suits you. Dad, this is a set of gold souvenirs from China Construction Bank. It contains the 12 zodiac signs. Each zodiac sign has a gold statue of more than 150 grams. There are only 888 sets nationwide. The workmanship is very beautiful. You can keep it for your collection. This is a special collection of Westlake Longjing tea. Li Yuan heard that you like drinking tea, so he bought it specially for you. Seeing Bai Wuxi taking out precious gifts one by one, Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu looked at each other in a daze. This is his son-in-law, ready to use money to spend on himself? This is the so-called how much is it worth? Not to mention other things, just the set of gold souvenirs of the 12 zodiac signs, none of them cost 1 or 200,000. And that jade bracelet, crystal clear, so beautiful, obviously not cheap either. But these gifts are really beautiful. Yang Jinyu's heart was beating rapidly. After her baby daughter got together with Li Yuan, she felt that she had suddenly become a legendary lady, and her food and clothing expenses were completely different from before. Even if they are from their own natal family, it would be difficult for them to live such a luxurious life, right? Although the brothers are also rich, they only have a few million, which is incomparable to Li Yuan's net worth. Just like the eldest brother's family who settled in Shanghai, they always look very proud every time they go home. However, they only have 3 houses in Shanghai and a small company. The wealth of the family may not be as much as that of their daughter. Xiao Yuan, these are too valuable. Don't waste them like this next time. My uncle and aunt are just teaching at home and won't need these. Yang Jinyu said this, but the smile on his face could not be concealed, and he looked very happy. No woman can refuse gold jewelry, luxury goods, and cosmetics. Don't be surprised if you give gifts to many people. Especially Li Yuan's way of doing whatever he wants. As she got older, her skin got a lot worse, and some wrinkles began to appear on her face. At this time, giving expensive skincare products really touched her heart. And this jade bracelet. She remembered that a few years ago, she took her daughter back to her parents' home and saw her sister-in-law wearing one. It was very beautiful. She said it casually with envy, and unexpectedly her daughter took it to heart, and now she bought it for her. Yang Jinyu looked at Li Yuan and suddenly became much kinder and gentler. My daughter's boyfriend, if you put aside your love interests, is top-notch in every aspect, without any flaws. He is tall, handsome, good-looking, well-educated, talented, career-oriented, and generous. It's just too fussy. But yes, she was a little moved by the sight of such an outstanding boy, let alone those other little girls. Why don't you rush up? As long as you get involved, with Li Yuan's generosity and boldness, you will be blessed with glory and wealth for a lifetime. Li Yuan smiled, Aunt Yang, this is really just a little thought on my part. Xiao Bai, put it on your uncle and aunt and see if it fits. Yeah, Bai Wuxi nodded sweetly and took out a pair of glass jade bracelets. They were crystal clear and without any impurities. This jade bracelet alone was worth more than 100,000 yuan. After trying various gifts, Yang Jinyu's attitude became more gentle, and he seemed to have completely forgotten about Li Yuan's affairs. Even Bai Wuxi's attitude softened under Bai Wuxi's coquettish voice, and he chatted with Li Yuan about some career-related issues. After chatting for a while, Yang Jinyu pulled Tian Qi up and said with a smile. Xiao Bai, you stay at home with Li Yuan, and your dad and I go to the supermarket to buy some food and eat it at home in the evening. Li Yuan stood up quickly, Aunt Yang, let's go together. Yang Jinyu signaled, no, there is a supermarket in front of the school, a few steps away. You have been riding in the car all day, so you should rest first. Seeing his mother-in-law insisting, Li Yuan sat down. He felt very awkward going to the supermarket with his mother-in-law and father-in-law. After Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu went downstairs, they started chatting on the way. Old Bai, is this Li Yuan's first visit? Bai Tiankai frowned subconsciously, what do you mean? Yang Jinyu glared at her husband with dissatisfaction. Old Bai, are you out of your mind? It's the first time that your daughter's boyfriend officially comes to visit us. Naturally, we have to prepare well. According to our custom, we have to give red envelopes and find someone to accompany us. You don't understand these principles, do you? After hearing Yang Jinyu's reminder, Tian Tiankai finally reacted. This is really Li Yuan's first visit as his daughter's boyfriend, so he definitely can't just have a meal. If you say that, you will be laughed at. If Li Yuan feels that he doesn't take him seriously and uses this as a reason to make trouble in the future, they will feel wrong. During the day, just when she was about to speak, he heard Yang Jinyu's dissatisfied reproach. Old Bai, please stop showing your bad face in front of Li Yuan. I am very satisfied with Li Yuan's child. He is very good to Xiao Bai and has nothing to say to either of us. Let everything take its course, don't come here at that time. Xiao Bai broke up with him and made a big fuss. It was all your fault. Bai Tiankai snorted dissatisfiedly, but did not refute. He can naturally see the attitude of his precious daughter. If he really opposed it, maybe his daughter would be like her mother and choose to run away from home regardless of him and sever ties with him. Isn't this what my wife is like? Regardless of the opposition of his family, he severed ties with his parents, followed him all the way, and married into a strange small county. Like mother, like daughter. He also knew Bai Wuxi's character very well. He looked gentle on the outside, but once he made a decision in his heart, he would be very persistent. Yang Jinyu added, "This is the first time for Li Yuan to come. Think about who to call to accompany the guest. Li Yuan is a good drinker. He drank you unconscious last time. Find a few people who can drink to accompany him." During the day, he smiled sarcastically. He thought he had a good drinking capacity, but when he went to Shanghai on National Day last time, he was knocked down while drinking with Li Yuan. Let me think about it. My eldest brother works in the Education Bureau. He is now the Deputy Director of the Education Bureau. I asked him if he has free time. And my dad, although he is retired, he used to be quite good at drinking. Well, look for more. I have a friend, Heiji, who works in Bangsu Town. He has visited Li Yuan many times in the past few days. He also told me before that he wanted me to set up a bureau and have a chat with Li Yuan. Yang Jinyu naturally understands the relationship between the Bai family. That's how it is in small counties. As big as the circle is, you can find some energy people. This is the so-called county Brahmin. For example, Bai Tiankai's elder brother Bai Liang, although he is only the deputy director of the Education Bureau and a deputy section level leader, in this 3-acre area of the county, he is still a bit thin-faced and can be regarded as a minor official. Well, you can figure it out. I'll just be in charge of cooking today. Yang Jinyu replied casually and then thought about it. Lao Bai, do you know what Li Yuan likes to eat? Bai Tiankai shook his head. I don't know where to go, just make a few of your specialty home-cooked dishes. He hasn't eaten anything delicious in the Magic City. Like chicken, duck, meat, eggs, fish, etc. Keep it all in order, we can't buy seafood here. Yang Jinyu nodded, that's right, then I'll take care of it. By the way, tell your elder brother and ask your sister-in-law to come over and help. I can't do it alone. I remember that the pickled fish she made tastes very good. Yang Jinyu was also a little nervous. It was his first time for his son-in-law to come to the house, and everyone in the family took it very seriously. Especially, the current Li Yuan is not an ordinary person. He is a big boss with a net worth of over 100 million and a very famous star. Even if it is a daily meal, you have to have a certain level. Yeah, I understand. I'll call them first to see if they are available. During the day, Chi was walking and talking on the phone. After hearing that Li Yuan was coming, they immediately agreed without saying a word. On the phone, Heiji laughed loudly, okay, Lao Bai, I didn't forget my old classmate when something good happened. I just came back from Li Yuan's house in the evening, and I was looking for an opportunity to invite him. I'm still worried that he won't come. Bai Tiankai smiled, although he was unhappy with Li Yuan's behavior. But seeing these relatives and friends, as soon as they heard that they wanted to have dinner with Li Yuan, they quickly agreed, feeling very proud in their hearts. Especially his eldest brother, as the deputy director of the County Education Bureau, is usually very assertive. If you want to treat him to a meal, you have to make a reservation a week in advance. But after he said Li Yuan was coming, he immediately agreed. Heiji joked, old Bai, I have to take out the Mao Tai that Li Yuan gave you tonight and try it. Bai Tiankai smiled and nodded, "Don't worry, Mao Tai has enough control. Just keep that boy Li Yuan company, he is a good drinker." He Ji chuckled, "Don't worry, I have to accompany you in everything I say today." In Bai Wuxi's home. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 498. Li Yuan didn't know that his future mother-in-law and father-in-law were already thinking about how to find someone to drink with him. At this time, he was visiting Bai Wuxi's boudoir and checking some of Bai Wuxi's precious collections. Bai Wuxi opened a box hidden in a very hidden place and pouted at Li Yuan. He, stinky brother, I didn't lie to you, I kept all the gifts you gave me and the love letters you wrote. Look, this is the MP3 you gave me on my first birthday, and the first love letter you wrote. Bai Wuxi took out a neatly folded pink drawing paper from the gift box, raised it to Li Yuan, and joked. Brother, do you want me to read it to you? Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi's bright smile, those gifts whose memories were already blurred, and a very complicated emotion suddenly rose in his heart. He thought that the gifts he gave to Bai Wuxi in high school had been thrown away by her. I didn't expect that she would treasure it so much. Since she valued the gift I gave her so much, why did the future turn out like that? Or did people really change after going to college and being exposed to a wider world? Or was it because I wasn't brave enough, didn't work hard enough, and couldn't meet Bai Wuxi's requirements, so I did that? Li Yuan suddenly felt a little confused. Bai Wuxi saw Li Yuan staring at the pink love letter in his hand in a daze, waved in front of him, and asked caringly. Brother, what's wrong with you? Li Yuan came back to his senses, sighed in his heart, smiled and shook his head, nothing. Bai Wuxi smiled sweetly, then what are you daydreaming about? Li Yuan sighed, I was thinking, time flies so fast, in the blink of an eye, it has been more than 3 years since we met. I feel that the faces of some high school classmates are a little blurry, and I can't remember them clearly. Time flies so fast, Bai Wuxi sighed, and suddenly said. By the way, Yuchen and Suji said that they are going to organize a class reunion after the new year. Will you participate? Classmate reunion, Li Yuan looked surprised. Why didn't anyone tell me? Bai Wuxi snorted, you are a big boss now, busy every day, who has the nerve to disturb you? Suji, Yu Chen, and the others want me to ask your opinion. If you participate, they will organize it, if you don't participate, they won't organize it. Li Yuan smiled, oh, do I have such a big face? Bai Wuxi blinked and smiled secretly, of course, you are the best person in our class, they all want to meet you. Brother, will you participate? Li Yuan nodded, if there is no special situation, I will participate. However, I have to look at the specific time, I can't stay at home for a few days. As for the company's affairs, you also know that it is in a critical period of development, and I still need to be in charge in person. Yeah, Bai Wuxi hummed, thinking that Zhong Tingyu was staying in the Magic City at this time to deal with various matters of the company, and suddenly felt more urgent. She didn't want to be just a vase, she also wanted to study hard to help Li Yuan. She didn't ask for much help, but at least she could keep up with him. After more than half an hour, Bai Tiankai and Yang Jinyu came back with bags of vegetables. After a while, Bai Wuxi's grandfather, uncle, and Heiji, who had just met in the afternoon, all came. So many people suddenly came to the house. Li Yuan was also a little surprised, could they come to watch his first son-in-law? Bai Tiankai smiled and introduced, Li Yuan, this is Xiaobai's grandparents. Li Yuan looked at the old grandfather and old lady in front of him who were dressed very cleanly and in good health, and hurriedly greeted. Hello, Grandpa and Grandma, I am Li Yuan, Wuxi's boyfriend. Bai Tiankai's grandfather was tall and thin, and it could be vaguely seen that he was also a handsome guy when he was young. Li Yuan, I've heard of you. Not bad, not bad. What a handsome young man, a perfect match for our Way 11. Bai Tiankai continued to introduce, this is your uncle, now the deputy director of the County Education Bureau. Li Yuan looked at Bai Wei 11's uncle and felt that he looked familiar. He should have seen him at a meeting in his previous life. Hello, uncle. Bai Tianliang looked at Li Yuan carefully from head to toe and nodded with satisfaction. Not bad, a very handsome young man, also young and promising, with unlimited future. Li Yuan hurriedly replied modestly, Uncle, you are too kind. I have just started with a small fight. Don't be too modest. We have all heard about your story. Seeing Li Yuan's modesty, Bai Tianliang nodded secretly in his heart. He could achieve such results at this age without being proud and complacent. His future is limitless. That is, there is one thing, he is too popular with women. Just as Bai Tiankai was about to introduce He Ji to Li Yuan, he heard He Ji take the initiative to greet him with a smile. Mr. Li, we meet again. Uncle He, just call me Li Yuan. Li Yuan was also a little surprised. This was his first visit, shouldn't it be a family dinner? Why did his father-in-law invite He Ji, a classmate? Are they so close? He Ji smiled and said, okay, I'm a few years older than you, so I'll be a little presumptuous and call you Xiao Yuan. Haha, Xiao Yuan is very impressive now. I just got home and saw a news report saying that the game Honor of Kings developed by your company has made a historic breakthrough in the domestic game industry. It has a milestone significance and has set a new benchmark for the game industry. Li Yuan looked at He Ji deeply, thinking that he is indeed a member of the system. He is very good at speaking. Who wouldn't be confused if he heard it? If I had this eloquence and emotional intelligence in my previous life, I wouldn't have been so miserable. Li Yuan, Uncle He, you are really flattering me. Honor of Kings has just been launched and has not been tested by the market yet. Bai Tianliang also smiled and asked, Li Yuan, I saw on the internet that your game has a daily sales turnover of over 100 million. About the same time, the sales will be better when it is just launched. Li Yuan smiled and nodded, without hiding anything. The specific sales data belongs to the company's core secrets and must not be disclosed at will. Since the official launch of Honor of Kings at 8 a.m. on January 20, 2009. With the response of market reputation, the daily sales of the game have reached new highs almost every day, with daily sales stable at more than 100 million. The number of game users is also continuously increasing, and the number of game software downloads has exceeded 20 million, which has formed a situation of national attention. It is much more popular than the League of Legends in the original time and space, and even more popular than the later Honor of Kings mobile game. Because this is a game developed and produced by Li Yuan. Because of the popularity of the Milk Tea Sister National Selection event and the 10 songs he sang live at the award ceremony. It can be said that he is now a popular fried chicken on the internet. In the words of the latter, that is the current maximum traffic. In addition, there is a factor of spread, which is particularly attractive to some girls who don't play games much. Thanks to the 500 points rewarded by the Big Brother Yun Fengqing. Chapter 284 The Richest Man in the Future? Invisible pretense is the most deadly. In Li Yuan's fan group, as well as on major website forums, there is such a message circulating. The game Honor of Kings, like Chayan Use, if gamers play the game frequently and meet certain conditions, they can participate in the Points Treasure Hunt event. As long as they win the Glory Crystal, they can not only get the special skin of Glory Collection, but also get the ticket similar to the Milk Tea Sister Award ceremony. Because, in the announcement of the official website of Honor of Kings, it has been clearly stated that in March and April 2009, the Honor of Kings national competition will be held. According to the Division of Provinces and Cities, the winning team can participate in the National League, focusing on a national participation and generous prize money. This is also a competition prepared by Li Yuan in imitation of the League of Legends LPL League, and some professional competition teams may be invited afterwards. Why can League of Legends and Honor of Kings in later generations continue to be popular for a long time? This kind of year-round event is also a major factor. To make a good game, you must constantly maintain the topicality. Only with topicality can you have heat and attraction. Li Yuan has great expectations for Honor of Kings. After his rebirth, among all the entrepreneurial projects he planned, it is second only to the future Douyin. This game can really make him achieve financial freedom, and there is no competitor, which is very cost-effective. Even if the genuine League of Legends produced by Riot Games enters the Chinese market in the future, it will not be the opponent of Honor of Kings. Just relying on Li Yuan's own influence and various Chinese-style heroes. Let a player who is not new to the game choose, will you choose Yasuo in League of Legends, or Sun Wukong in Honor of Kings? Vote with your feet, you know who you will choose, right? What's more, Li Yuan has also put a lot of effort in the design of the character image of the game, which will attract some female players. And in a game, as long as there are a lot of female players, then this game cannot fail to make money. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 499. And as long as we can cultivate a group of die-hard game fans, then as long as the game is well balanced in the future, it will be equivalent to having a hen that can lay golden eggs, and you can just sit back and collect money. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as a fortune with a fortune. A good game is just that exaggerated. Games such as Crossfire, League of Legends, and Honor of Kings have all survived for more than 10 years without any signs of being eliminated. Bai Tianliang just asked casually. He didn't quite believe that a mere game could earn hundreds of millions of yuan every day. I just said it's impossible. Tianliang was about to answer, but suddenly he stopped speaking, his eyes widened, and he looked at the smiling Li Yuan in disbelief. My voice was trembling, my head was a little dizzy, and it felt like the whole building was shaking. He was stunned and confirmed again, Li Yuan, what you said is true, you can really make hundreds of millions a day. Li Yuan nodded, fearing that he would misunderstand, so he corrected him and spoke humbly. It's not about making hundreds of millions a day, but about making hundreds of millions of dollars in daily sales. There are also many costs, such as research and development costs, publicity and promotion, operation and maintenance costs, etc. Besides, this is only the special period of winter vacation and spring festival holiday. After the new year and the heat subsides, I can earn tens of millions a day, which is probably only a few million. Bai Tianliang couldn't help but curse. He was staring at Li Yuan closely as if he were looking at an alien. This is something Li Yuan personally admitted. His daily sales are over 100 million. Even after the Chinese New Year and the popularity is gone, he can still make tens of millions every day. Listen, are these still human words? Bai Tianliang said with deep emotion, with daily sales of over 100 million and daily income of tens of millions, Xiao Yuan, no, Mr. Li, you will definitely become the richest man in our county in the future. He Ji also looked shocked. He used to think that Li Yuan only had assets of over 100 million, but now he heard what Li Yuan said for himself. Just one game under his company's name had a daily revenue of hundreds of millions and a net profit of tens of millions. What is this concept? The annual fiscal revenue of Bangsu town where he is located is only 8 or 9 million. Even so, this level of fiscal revenue is unparalleled in the entire Baiming County. The county's fiscal revenue is less than 1 billion, and there is still a lot of water in it. This is equivalent to Li Yuan's income in one day, which is comparable to Bang Sutao's financial income in 1 year. 1 month's fiscal revenue is equivalent to 1 year's fiscal revenue for the entire Baiming County. What kind of god is this young man in front of me who is just a freshman? The key point is that he is only 19 years old, and he is still a famous singer in the country. He has sang many songs and has almost dominated all major music software. The richest man in Baiming County may not be qualified to carry shoes for the young people in front of him in the future. Thinking of this, He Ji glanced at Tian Liang, who was also shocked and dumbfounded. This old classmate, who didn't do well among his classmates, suddenly rose to the top because he gave birth to a beautiful and lucky daughter. Oh, why don't I have a daughter like this? He Ji suddenly felt a little envious. He had a son, and he originally wanted to find an opportunity for his son to meet Lao Bai's daughter. Looking at it now, I still see a hammer. As long as Lao Bai and his family don't go crazy together, they will definitely not let Bai Wuxi and Li Yuan break up. At this time, Bai Tianqi, who was envied by everyone, also recovered from the shock and looked at Li Yuan, who had been smiling, with a complicated expression. At this time, his mentality has changed. Just like what my wife said, such an outstanding man really only has a baby daughter? How is this possible? Li Yuan was only 19 years old, so how much temptation did he have to endure? In a luxurious metropolis like Shanghai where beauties abound, how many beautiful girls would be vying to crawl into Li Yuan's bed every day? This kind of temptation, not to mention Li Yuan, even the several mature men here, who can resist it? Bai Tiankai glanced subconsciously towards the kitchen, where Bai Wuxi's cheerful laughter was heard. Apart from the fact that she and Li Yuan were childhood sweethearts in high school and had a strong emotional foundation, her daughter did not have much advantage over other beautiful girls. Li Yuan, you are really amazing. I remember that information posted on the internet said that you also opened a very popular website and a milk tea catering brand, and did very well. Bai Tianliang said with emotion. Li Yuan nodded, well, I have plenty of time in college. I was bored, so I thought about starting a business. Unexpectedly, I actually achieved a little success. He Ji shook his head slightly, and also praised, this is no small achievement of yours, and it is not due to luck, but due to strength. I heard that you are still writing online novels and are very famous. You are among the top in the country. This shows that your talent is very high. Tianliang added with a smile, by the way, one more thing, we almost forgot about music. Li Yuan is also a big star who can sing. As far as I know, in school, some young students listen to the song you sing. He Ji continued to praise, you are only 19 years old. This is what shocks me the most. As long as you work steadily, I can't even imagine what your future achievements will be. Bai Tianliang also nodded in agreement, old He, you are right. In the future, Baiming County may become famous throughout the country because of Li Yuan. Seeing Bai Tianliang and He Ji praising him one after another, Li Yuan felt a little elated and very happy. The two people in front of him have very good future development, which he could not reach in his previous life. But now, after reliving a lifetime, it is indeed very satisfying for the other party to praise me like this and say that I am unique in the world. Li Yuan even had a bold idea in his mind. If the main leader who tortured me to the point of ecstasy in his previous life saw me at this time, what would his expression be like? He Ji thought of his mission and took the initiative to bring up another topic. By the way, Li Yuan, what do you think of the economic development of our Baiming County? Li Yuan actually knows a lot about the future development plan of Baiming County. In his previous life, he worked in the secretarial department of the county party committee. He was seconded for a period of time and wrote writing materials for a period of time. Through this, he also learned about some of the development plans of Baiming County. Probably, after the Chinese New Year, starting in May or June, the county committee and county government began a land acquisition and demolition plan in the Chinnan New district to build a new city. The completion of this new city has brought rapid changes to the entire Biming County, and it has also brought about high housing prices. Around 2017-2018, it was the peak period of housing prices, and the housing price per square meter even reached 8,000 to 9,000. You know, the average house price in Shanghai in 2009 is about 10,000, and in some core areas, it is about more than 20,000. In just a few years, the housing prices in Biming County have caught up with those in Shanghai in 2009. One can imagine how big the bubble is. As for economic development, it is really difficult to develop the economy in Biming County, which is mainly agricultural. Several generations of leaders have struggled for a long time, but there has been no good development. What has increased is only the price level, not the income level. Various thoughts flashed through Li Yuan's mind. He looked at He Ji, who was full of expectations, and of course he understood what the other party wanted to do when he raised this topic. It's not just to arouse his competitive spirit and attract his investment. In the era when economy is king, whoever can get money can be promoted quickly. This is political achievement. Li Yuan chuckled, "Uncle He, you think too highly of me. I'm just a freshman, so I can't have any opinions on the economic development of a county." He Ji praised and guided, "Let's talk about it." In recent years, the economic development of our Biming County has entered a bottleneck period. It is not developing very well and lags behind other counties in the province. You are able to make such a big undertaking at such an age. You must have unique insights into economic development. Of course, we are here today just to hang out and chat. We are all genuine Northern Mongolians, so it is right to care about the development of our hometown. Li Yuan secretly gave He Ji a thumbs up. Look at his beautiful words. He didn't mention investment in every word, but every word was tempting him to invest. He was very sure that as long as he really put forward his opinions, He Ji would definitely follow his suggestions, and then use roundabout ways to attract his investment. But Li Yuan is not a man who invests randomly, and to be honest, Biming County is located in the North China Plain. Although transportation is very convenient, there is no railway. The vast plains stretch as far as the eye can see, and there are no resources, no high-quality talents, and no high-quality talents. It is impossible to develop in a short time. The subsequent leadership teams were not uneducated, because they had close contact with each other, and their standards were very high. But even so, they failed to develop Biming County. Let alone him. "Uncle He, please don't embarrass me." Li Yuan waved his hands pretending to be bitter. He didn't want to make any suggestions for the development of his hometown. Just let everything take its course, and everyone will have a good life. Never think that if you are reborn and have money, you can change history. That is pure fantasy. I don't know much about my hometown yet. I'll talk to Uncle He in detail later when I know more about it. What Li Yuan said made it clear that he did not want to have in-depth exchanges on this topic. Naturally, He Ji also understood. He was a good person, so he immediately changed the subject and started talking about a topic that Li Yuan was interested in. "Xiao Yuan, you look very strong. Do you often play ball in school?" Li Yuan nodded, "Well, I prefer basketball and I play regularly to exercise." When He Ji heard that Li Yuan liked to play basketball, he immediately became enthusiastic again and started a new topic. "I also like to play basketball. When I was in college, I was a guard for the school team. In the past few years, I have been busy with work and have done less exercise. When we have time, how many games can we practice together?" Li Yuan smiled and nodded, "Okay, I'm pretty good at basketball." Hearing Li Yuan's words, He Ji was stunned for a moment, and then laughed, "Haha, it seems that your basketball level is very high, Li Yuan. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 500. While chatting, it was time for dinner. Yang Jinyu, Baiwaxi's aunt, and Baiwaxi worked together to prepare a large table of dishes. There are more than 10 kinds of chicken, fish, meat, and eggs, all of which look good in color and taste. When Li Yuan was in Shanghai, he had eaten the food cooked by Yang Jinyu. Although it was a common meal, it tasted really good and suited his taste. After the food is served, as the wine commander Qi found during the day, he directly opened a bottle of mutai, smelled the aroma of mutai, and took a deep breath intoxicated. As the deputy director of the Education Bureau, he was about to take over the position of director in Baiming County. He is considered to be a high-ranking person, but he rarely drinks mutai. At this time, Tian Liang looked at Li Yuan with a red face and said with a smile, "Xiao Yuan, I heard from your uncle Bai that you are quite good at drinking. I am happy today. How many of us can drink?" Li Yuan looked at this scene. Bai Tiankai, Heiji, Bai Tianliang, and Wei 11's grandfather could all drink. He suddenly thought of a joke from his hometown. What it says is, when your future son-in-law comes to your door for the first time, he must drink to the point, which is also commonly known as drinking to upset the stomach. This means that the son-in-law who comes to the house for the first time must be accompanied and drunk enough. That's why we look for some particularly drinkable ones to accompany our guests. Li Yuan suddenly felt excited and thought of a question. Could they be specially invited by my father-in-law to drink with me? Thinking of this, Li Yuan felt a little worried. He said he could drink it, which was just over a kilogram of liquor. This was still under the blessing of his body after rebirth. This kind of traffic is slightly better than that of most ordinary people, such as Lucia, Suji, and Wang Shui. But in official circles, it is completely inadequate. As someone who has been in the system, although he does not frequent drinking venues, he has seen many people in the system drinking. That is really called one. There are people outside the world, and there is a sky outside the sky. There is so much to drink. Don't say you can drink if you don't have the starting weight of 1 kilogram. These people in front of me. Needless to say, it's cheap for my father-in-law. I can barely drink more than a pound. And Bai Tianliang and Heiji, a deputy director and a deputy mayor, usually have no shortage of drinking places, and Bai Tiankai specially called them to come over to accompany them, so one can imagine their drinking capacity. Li Yuan said tentatively, "Well, I drove here. You can't drink while driving." As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, Bai Tianliang picked him up and replied with a smile. "Xiao Yuan, you can't drive after drinking, but it's okay if you don't go back. The county is so big, how can you still have no place to live?" Heiji also smiled and said, "Yes, if there is no place to sleep at Lao Bai's house, go to my house. My house is just across the road, just a few steps away." Bai Tiankai glanced at Li Yuan, brought the filled wine dispenser to Li Yuan, smiled and said, "Xiao Yuan, drink, don't go back tonight." Bai Wuxi was sitting obediently next to Li Yuan. After hearing her father's words, her pretty face suddenly turned red, and she suddenly looked good-looking. She glanced at Li Yuan's side face, seemed to have thought of something, and lowered her head shyly. A crazy voice inside echoed in my mind. If Li Yuan doesn't go back at night, will he sleep with me? Ah, I'm a little too shy. There is still a little bit of expectation. Although her home has 3 bedrooms and 1 living room, because she only has 1 daughter, and her parents, as teachers, often have to write lesson plans and correct test papers, they set aside a special room for use as a study room for work. If Li Yuan didn't go home, he would have to sleep with him at night. Thinking of this, Bai Wuxi still felt a little ashamed even though he had played poker with Li Yuan many times. This is the home where I have lived for more than 10 years. It is my boudoir. It has a completely different feeling. What's more, my parents will also be at home. Li Yuan, including everyone else present, didn't notice what Bai Wuxi was thinking. Seeing that my father-in-law had already spoken, he brought the wine glass in front of him. Li Yuan thought to himself, I can't live without drinking this wine tonight. Li Yuan looked a little shy and said, Grandpa, uncles, my drinking capacity is really average. If I drink too much and talk nonsense, don't get offended. He Ji laughed, not taking Li Yuan's words seriously at all. After several contacts in a short period of time, he had become accustomed to Li Yuan's humility. He took the initiative to pick up the wine glass and clinked it towards everyone. Come on, old man, director Bai, Lao Bai, Li Yuan, let's have a drink together. Come on, cheers. Not surprisingly. Even though his father-in-law had specially hired a bartender, Li Yuan drank a lot. He was already drunk after drinking more than one bottle of wine. On average, 5 drinkers each drink a bottle of collector's edition Maotai, and one bottle is worth 2,000 plus. Among them, there was Bai Wuxi's grandfather, who only drank 3 or 4 taels because of his old age. After drinking, the atmosphere at the scene became much more lively. They talked about the world, national affairs, the Iraq War, and the filial plight of parents, as well as their children's education and marriage career. As we chatted, we naturally talked about Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi. Tian Liang, whose face was red from drinking and smelling of alcohol, grabbed Li Yuan's hand and gave instructions there. Xiao Li, brother, please say a few more words. Don't be unhappy. I don't have a daughter, just Wei 11. I treat such a niece as my own daughter. You can't be sorry to her in the future. Otherwise, brother, I won't do what you want. Li Yuan's mind was also a little confused. This drink can be regarded as the most I have drunk since my rebirth. At other times, there were not so many people who would persuade him to drink like this. But tonight, it was my first time to come to the door, and everyone here was elders. When the other party approached me, it was not easy to refuse, so I had to drink. However, the 2 professional accompanying guests drank a lot, and even their seniority was lost when they talked. Zhangxiang technology is not just a cover. Yang Jinyu and Aunt Bai Wuxi on the side listened to Bai Tianliang's incoherent words, and a black line appeared on their foreheads. This man, after drinking too much, turned into this disgusting look. Li Yuan naturally nodded repeatedly as he listened to the teachings from his old brother. After getting drunk, he became less thoughtful when speaking and returned to his youthful nature. Uncle, don't worry about this. I am absolutely sincere to Xiaobai. In this life, I guarantee that she will follow me, be popular and drink spicy food, not to mention glory and wealth, and have absolutely no worries about food and clothing. Bai Tianliang said drunkenly, yes, with your words, I feel relieved. Come on, cheers. Bai Wuxi watched Li Yuan drinking with several elders. She seemed to have drunk too much, and she was very worried. Sitting next to Li Yuan, I asked him questions from time to time and gave him cup after cup of tea. Bai Wuxi's aunt Zhang Shui watched the scene and also joked. Jinyu, your family, Wuxi, really puts all your heart into Li Yuan. Yang Jinyu smiled and said, isn't that right? Wei 11 and Li Yuan have known each other since the first year of high school and have been roommates for a year or 2. I heard from Wei 11 that Li Yuan started chasing our Wei 11 when he was in high school. The relationship between the 2 of them is very deep. Zhang Shui looked at Yang Jinyu, who looked proud and thought of the rumors on the internet. Hard way. With a good relationship foundation, how could Li Yuan still provoke other women when he first entered college? However, she would naturally not say this on this occasion. Saying so is tantamount to breaking your skin directly. The relationship between their 2 families is still good. I am extremely grateful to the boss of Invincible Little Monster studying in Castle for the 2000 points reward. Chapter 285 Staying in Bayou Egwang's Boudoir, The Swaying Knight.